Warning, the following video contains personal opinions on the game Dead by Daylight. You are likely to disagree with these opinions, which is perfectly fine. That being said, welcome to my countdown of the top 24 chapters in Dead by Daylight. Number 24, Paragraph 2, Leatherface. Now, let me start off by saying this. Bubba's perks, they are fine. Barbecue is great. You get bonus blood points, you see the auras of survivors for a few seconds. Franklin's makes items drop. Knockout, it exists. But I absolutely despise this chapter. I spent money on this chapter, and I made a promise to never play him in a public lobby. The footage I am using right now is from a Kill Your Friends match, which I am very grateful for that one of my friends was willing to play against me with this killer, because this killer is just also not fun. His chainsaw is not fun. If I wanted to play a chainsaw wielding killer, I would play Hillbilly, who has map mobility and is faster. This chapter is only good for perks. Now, I don't really think that those perks alone make this chapter good, because again, I am not able to play this DLC because I made a promise never to play it. I'm a man of my word. I am not playing this. I'm kind of sad that I put this chapter up so high. Well, low. Depends on what you consider high and what you consider low. Because I do like the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a good movie. This chapter could have been better, too. We could have gone a survivor. We could have gone Kate with this chapter, and the clown could have gone something different. Like, that's... As some of you know, Kate was originally the survivor intended for Bubba. That didn't happen thanks to Nightmare on Elm Street license and stuff. It's a mess. I just don't like this chapter. I don't have much to say. I just don't like this chapter. I don't like how the killer plays his chainsaw. It's not for me. The add-ons are not really, like, good. Some of them are good, but I don't really play killers with add-ons that much. And I'm starting to sound like a broken record. Number 24 he goes. I'm sorry, Bubba fans. Number 23. Paragraph 3. Ash vs. Evil Dead. What? How is a fucking chapter that only comes with 3 perks and a unique survivor higher up than Bubba? It's simple, I can actually play this in a public lobby. That's the only reason this is higher. Like the perks. Okay, Metal Man, it's bugging. Protection hits are buggy. But it works. And it's quite good when it does work. Buckle Up. What even is it use? Let's look, he said. Auras become clear the more recovery progress other survivors have when they are on the ground. Great, this is worthless when you play in a public lobby because almost nobody slugs. Flip-flop. Just choose Unbreakable or Soul Guard. Recovery progress becomes wiggle progress, and at 100% you have 50% wiggle progress. What happens at 100%? Oh yeah, you pick yourself up. If you are at that point, just use Unbreakable or Soul Guard if the killer has a hex perk, because this isn't good. These perks are not good. Ash as a survivor himself is fun though, I like him. He has some voice lines, he looks like Bruce Campbell? I don't know how you say it. And I like the survivor itself. Like, as a survivor, Ash is fine, but his perks not great, but at least I can play him in public matches, which I can't say about Bubba. He gets number 23. He sits there, nice and comfortable. Number 22. Chapter 21, Hellraiser.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Alright, this is, as of recording this and making this video, a newest chapter. And I don't like this chapter. And it's mostly because I can't play this chapter. But unlike where Bubba, where it was I can't play it because I made a promise, it's because I get motion sickness. Here's the thing, where I don't like facing Bubba, I do like facing Pinhead. His power is fun to go against. The box of pain, what was it called, lament configuration, gives survivors something else to do that isn't Jens. Sure, one survivor can hold it and just run around, loop the killer the entire match, but it's the idea that counts. Then there is, of course, the fact that his chains, his primary way of slowing survivors down, are fun to go against. They are rewarding to land as a killer and rewarding to dodge as a survivor, and I like this. What I don't like are his perks, and his perks are Deadlock, which blocks the generator with the most progress after a generator is done. Okay, great. Why would I want that? Hexblade thing, which makes the survivor oblivious after being hooked, and they have to go find a hex totem that is now lit, and only they can cleanse it for the first 90 seconds. After that, everybody can cleanse it, and they can see the aura within a certain range, which is kind of dumb. And we have Scourge Hooks. Scourge Hooks are a new type of bug, and I think they're a fine idea. They remind me a lot of the Hallowed Eve's hook, or the Event Hooks, or whatever you call them. But the execution so far is not good, because this effect, Gift of Pain gives, Scourge Hook Gift of Pain, is Hemorrhage and Mangled, and there's easier ways to do it instead of, you know, hooking a survivor to unlock the effect. You can just hit him while having Sloppy Butcher equipped, which is way easier. This is a very convoluted way of getting this effect. Now, as I said, I like him, but he's so low because I can't play him, because he gives me motion sickness. His chain controls, they make me physically sick. I get a headache from them, which is sad because I would love to play this killer more, but I just can't. So he sits at number 22 because he's quite fun to face, but just, again, I can't play him as I get motion sick from him. So that's why he's number 22, which is pretty high up, all things considered. If I didn't get sick, I might reconsider putting him in, like, the middle of the bag. Oh, not too high, but as it stands, chapter 22, and I'm a broken record, I know. Number 21, Shattered Bloodline.
I am 100 meters from your location and approaching rapidly. Start running.
Shattered Bloodline, the chapter that gave us the spirit. I fucking hate the spirit. I wanna throw her off a goddamn cliff. I hate facing her. I hate playing her. Holy fucking goddamn shit. Her power is a piece of shit. Because it's so goddamn strong and it doesn't actually have counterplay. I don't care what any of you say. I have tried to find it. I can't find it. Besides literally running away faster than she can come to me. Alright, now that I've got that out of my system, what do I actually hate about this chapter? Well, it's mostly the killer. Mostly because her add-ons just make her inconsistent, like some her recover Yamaoka's Haunting Foster, which is her power. I don't care if I butcher that name. It lets you go invisible where you leave behind a husk. While you are invisible, you can't interact with survivors, but you are fast as hell. And survivors then have to take a 50-50 guess whether you're standing still if they see your husk, or if you're phasing. Usually this is when you're at a pallet with the killer at the other side of you. And this is why I hate the spirit. Her power doesn't really require the killer to think, it just requires her to either let a survivor gamble, and in some loops that's really easy. And others it isn't. Then there's add-ons, which just throw another wrench into the mess. I don't like this power at all. This this killer. I don't like this killer. Like, the concept is cool, a Japanese spirit, that's awesome. The execution of the power is just no. But, what about the perks? Well, we've got Rancor. After a generator is done, you see the survivor outlines, I suppose. You see like a bit of the general shape of survivor for a few seconds. When all generators are done, you can more the obsession and insta-down them. As for her second perk, which is Spirit Fury, break a few pallets and eventually you can just tank one and it breaks instantly thanks to the entity. And then there is Hex Haunted Grounds, which basically tells survivors to not touch totems because one of them is definitely a trap and will make them exposed, letting them go down in one hit. These perks are great, they work well in combos, like all of them. I just don't like the killer they're attached to. Then there is Adam, a survivor I barely play because I keep forgetting he exists. He's one of the most forgettable survivors in my eyes. Which is weird because his perks are not forgettable. We have Deliverance, which after a safe unhook, you are able to unhook yourself, but you become broken. This is a really fun perk in my eyes, and I quite like it. And then there is Diversion, which after sitting in a terror radius without being chased, you get a little pebble you can throw, which creates a loud noise distraction like a vault action or a generator exploding. This is a fun perk when it works, it just doesn't work on most killers. But it's still fun. And then we have on a Didact, which I don't even know what it does. I'm not gonna look up what it does. It's useless, I know that, because I think it slows down your healing at the start, but gives you like improved healing the more skill checks you hit. At which point, why not just run botany knowledge? It gives you a bonus to healing without needing to do skill checks. It doesn't really make much sense to me. Like, these perks, with the exception of Autodidact, are great. They're fun. They're not the best, but they're fun, and that's important. This is also the reason why this chapter is not so low, because the next part of this chapter is the map. And the map, Yamaoka Residence, it's bad. It's big, it's dark, there's a lot of green to blend into. There's a pretty strong main structure, family residence. I just don't care for this map. Like, the concept of the Japanese old-timey house, it's great, but the execution, like, a lot of things in this game are just not executed well, but this map is just it's not my cup of tea. Now, I want to point this out. I like this chapter. I like all chapters. I just hate the spirit so goddamn much that I'm putting this chapter at number 21, and you can't stop me because this is my list. Fuck the spirit. That is all. On to the next number. Number 20. Binding of Kin.
Ready, Ike? Kick the baby! Kick the baby. Kick the baby.
Ah, Binding of Kin. A great concept with terrible execution. Look, the killer being a pair of twins. That's an amazing concept. We get 2 killers for the price of 1. That's something very unique. It's just the execution of the twins is not the greatest. It could have come better, but it's not the worst. The power, Blood Bond, lets you switch between a small killer that can pounce on survivors and basically stop them from healing while he's on them and escaping. And you get a big killer, which works as a standard M1 killer. Your job as the twins is to use both the small one and the big one in a combination, because the small one can't do certain things, but the big one can. The big one is just standard killer flare, standard movement speed, standard terror radius, standard lunge, can pick up survivors, can break pallets, and then you have the small killer, little baby. He can't do any of that, but he also has no terror radius, and it's pretty hard to see. This means that the twins are a sort of stealth killer. And this is all great, but what's the bore about it? Oftentimes, while playing as the small killer, you will not be close enough with the big killer to really have an advantage of this. The perks are a mixed bag. We got Goop de Grace. I butchered that French, but it's French, so we'll give it a shit. Reach 9 you get a token, which when you do a lunge, you can lunge extra far, which consumes a token. Oppression. Kick a generator and 3 other generators start to regress too. This has a cooldown of 2 minutes. This is terrible. Just use Surge, really. That's a way better perk. Rest in peace, Strange Things chapter. God, too soon. And then we have Hoarder, which surprisingly actually has synergy with the Cenobite's little configuration box thingy. But besides that, it's useless. When a survivor interacts with a chest, you see the aura when you're within 2 meters. And it spawns 2 extra chests. This is more of a buff towards survivors than it is bad for you. This is not really that great. But what about the other side of the coin, namely the survivor? Well, Elodie is a nice, adventurous survivor, but she isn't really my type of survivor. First Odyssey has really big hair, and the perks, well, not my cup of tea. We got Deception, which lets you run past a looker, interact with it, and make a looker notification, which, this is actually a perk that is my playstyle. You don't enter the locker, you just run past it, you create a noise notification. I like these distraction perks. This is fine, I like this perk. Appraisal, which lets you search chests that have been opened. This is, again, as an ace main, which is what I am, I main ace. This is very fun, because I can charge more chests. It's a really fun perk, I like this. And a power struggle, which is just not for me, because it now also doesn't work thanks to, I don't know what caused it, but it's like hit registration or something. I don't know what causes it, but it now just doesn't work because there's a delay when something registers, and most of the time it doesn't register. So what it used to do is it lets you drop a pallet so you can get free while being carried by the killer. That no longer works. And yeah, look, I don't really have strong opinions on all of these chapters. I like all of them. I bought all of them. This chapter is just fine. It's fine. There's nothing really I like. There's nothing I really hate about this. Besides the fact we didn't get a French village map, which would have been awesome. I want that. That is selfish of me. But I want a French village map, even though I don't care about France because the French live there. I just don't like French. French is a nice language to learn. But besides my derailment, this chapter is fine. The killer is just not for me, neither is the survivor, but the perks, I can take them, I can leave them. Number 19. All kill. All kill, all kill, all kill. That chapter that everybody claims doesn't fit DBD. I mean, does it? We have pink neon skins for the last couple of years, so having a killer based on that, why not? I like the trickster. Take the huntress, give her a machine gun in terms of throwing speed, add in a dash of Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and just a general K-pop flair, and you get the trickster. And I like him a lot. He's very, very fun. Showstopper is just fun and simple to use. I like fun and simple to use. You hit survivors with a bunch of knives, they get injured, and then they go down. It's that simple. I don't really care about main event. It can be useful. I've had uses out of it myself, but it's not really the main attraction because you can't store it. It's activate it now, or don't activate it at all, because you just drop. That's not fun. His perks are mixed bag. You've got Hex Crowd Control, which is like Bamboozle, but survivors have to fast vault, and it's a hex. It's called Hex Crowd Control. Don't know if I mentioned that. I might have, and forgotten already. I am a very small brain person. Then we have No Way Out. It's Blood Warden, but for the exit games switch. It gives you a Location, it's okay, I suppose. I don't use it. Can be strong, I think, but it's no back to it. Anyway, Starstruck, this shit is busted OP on a killer like Doctor, where you need a big terror radius. Because every survivor in your terror radius, when you pick somebody up, becomes exposed, and it lasts for like 26 seconds after the survivors leave the terror radius. This one can work decently well in some Doctor builds, but on a Trickster build, not really. You want a smaller terror radius, so slap on like Molten Abuse, so this doesn't really have much point for the Trickster. And then we of course have the Survivor, which is Jin Jun Lee, and where I like the Trickster, I don't like Jin Jun Lee one bit. I don't like her perks that much, I don't like her design that much. She feels like a skin for Feng Min, really, which is not bad because the design's nice, but she just feels like a skin for a character instead of like a true new survivor, which is kind of to do with the fact that, well, the entire chapter feels like this could have been skins with the exception of the killer's power. As for our perks, we've got all perks are centered on self-survival. It's not my playstyle. I play more together. I like buffing my teammates. I like meme builds. So these are not real for me. We got Fast Track, for each survivor hooked. You gain a token. If you hit a great skill check on a generator, tokens become gen progress. I mean, why not just use something like, what's it called? It's like a David Tap perk Stakeout, which makes normal skill checks into great skill checks. Just use that if you want to have more progress on a generator, because that doesn't require people to be hooked. You gotta hit a grade anyway, so like this has synergy. I don't care for it. We've got self-preservation. Okay, I actually quite like this one. I don't say that I like self-preservation perks, but this one is quite fun. If a survivor is hit within 60 meters with a basic attack, you leave no blood or scratch marks and don't grunt for 6 seconds, which is enough to get away, really. This is decent, but it's not good because usually when a survivor is hit, you can already just run away. And we got Smash Hit, which after stunning the killer with a pallet, you break in the sprint and become exhausted. There's just better exhaustion perks like Sprint Burst, which is more controlled. This requires you to hit a killer with a pallet. It's not that good. Also, a real shame we didn't get a Neon City alleyway map to explore, but this was around the time that Behavior didn't give us maps with chapters, which, real shame. I would have loved Neon City map. This chapter is pretty good. I like the killer a lot. I don't like the survivor that much, but the killer makes more than up for it because, well, I am a killer main. And I enjoy fun killers, and Trickster is fun. Like, I don't care about his perks, I don't care about the survival perks, he's just fun. I don't have more to say. Number 18, Darkness Among Us.
Amogus.
You know what's funny? This chapter was basically misled by marketing because we all thought when the first trailer came out, wow, a killer that can blend in with survivors. Instead we got the Legion, which run fast and have knives. I like this actually. Look. Sure, it's not the most amazing thing, but it's quite fun. You run fast, you can hit survivors, make them go into the mending state and injured. Because Feral Frenzy allows you to go fast, you can vault pallets, you can vault windows faster. When you hit a survivor while using Feral Frenzy, you see the killer instinct on other survivors, so you can chain hits together, which is nice. This is fine. He has movement. He is fine. They are fine. Legion is fine. Nothing too big. Just kind of a bit annoying to play against, but decent to play. As for the perks, they are, again, just fine. They all have their uses in certain builds. We got Discordance, which lets you see gens that are being worked on by more than one survivor. This is actually quite good. Mad Grid, which basically lets you hit really fast, and then when you hit a survivor, the survivor you're carrying stop wiggling. An Iron Maiden, actually a locker makes the survivor explode, and any killer that opens a locker does it faster, which is good for killers like Huntress and Trickster who gotta reload their power at lockers. These are all useful and all quite good. So what about the survivor? Well, we have Jeff, who we also know as Jesus Christ. He looks fine, his model is fine, he sounds fine, his perks are decent, we got Breakdown, we are unhooked. The hook here we're on breaks and you see the killer aura for a few seconds. Aftercare, after unhooking or healing the survivor, you see their aura for the rest of the match, unless you are hooked, which is really good because it goes the entire map in terms of how far you can see them. Then we have Distortion. You have a few tokens at the start of a match which become consumed when a killer uses a aura rating perk. Like let's say the killer hooks somebody and has barbecue, your aura doesn't become seen and you lose 1 token. These are all fine, they're nothing too groundbreaking, they're nothing too bad, they are fine. And I quite like some of them. I don't like them as much as the killer perks, but they're decent. And then there is the map. Ormond. Yeah. It's not good, it needs a rework. It's not the worst map, I mean, it does the job. But it's just not that fun to play on. It's white, loops aren't that good, I mean structure is not that great, the map itself feels kind of bland almost. This chapter is fine. Well, marketing at the start was kind of misleading because that original teaser made us think, wow, Survivor can blend in. But besides that, I enjoy the Legion. I like Jeff quite a bit. He's fine. But that's the thing with the entirety of making this video. I just think things are fine. I don't really hate many chapters. Like only the first 3 I counted, and the top 5 I really have strong opinions about. Everything in between is just kind of there. Because it's fine, so yeah, this is just fine. It could be better, could be worse. Number 17, Left Behind. William Bill Overbeck, possibly the most recognizable survivor from Left 4 Dead. And he is in Dead by Daylight with 3 great perks. And he is at number 17 because, frankly, I prefer different chapters. Well, I did main William Bill Overbeck when I first started playing. I don't anymore, nor do I really use his perks. So let's go over those perks. We got Borrowed Time, unhook a survivor and they get the endurance effect. It's great for countering tunnelers. We got Unbreakable, you can get yourself off the ground once per match when you fully recover. And then you have Left Behind, which shows you the location of the hatch when you are the only survivor left in the trial. All 3 of these perks are pretty great, except Left Behind, that's kind of mediocre, but it's still no bad. It's just, yeah, we got 3 great perks and a good survivor, but that's really it. Nothing else. Also, his tome was just a disaster. I wish we got like a killer with him, but we didn't. But at least we got a new nice outfit and a nice sweater for him. So he can sit nicely at number 17. Love you, Bill. Number 16.
We can't expect God to do all the work.
The Rise of the Faithful came out around a weird time. We just had Rin Yamaoka disappeared with Shattered Bloodline. Then we got one of the more disliked chapters, Darkness Among Us. And then we got Shattered Bloodline, which right afterwards we got the Ghostface chapter, one of the most liked chapters because of the killer. So she really came out at a weird time, this chapter. What about the Plague? Well, the Plague is fine. She's in this weird position where she's a semi-ranged killer. Her puke allows her to make survivors broken, meaning they are a one-hit down. Clean, she can hurt them with bloody puke. I'm not making that up. I wish I was. Nobody had a puke fetish on the universe team, it seems. She plays on a risk versus reward deal. Do survivors risk going down in one hit, or do they risk cleansing? Honestly, I like it. It's not that complex, not that hard. It's quite simple. It has more details like every power, but coming off Legion, which has a really basic power, this was kind of refreshing getting a new semi-range killing because we only had hunters up until this point. As for perks, we have Corrupt Intervention, which is a pretty good perk all things considered because it slows down gens at the start of the trial. The 3 furthest generators from your position will be blocked for 2 minutes at the start of the trial. You don't even have to do anything. After that, it does nothing anymore. Infectious Fright. After downing a survivor, all survivors within your terror radius scream, revealing them for 6 seconds, I believe. And Dark Devotion. After hitting the Obsession, you become undetectable. So you have no terror radius, no red stain. But the Obsession gains your terror radius. This is quite a fun stealth perk. Yeah, she's just kind of fun. Her perks are good, but her power, not really my cup of tea. I like it, but look, I'm running out of things to say about these killers. I don't dislike a killer. I don't hate a killer, except Third. But the Plague is just kind of there. She exists. She is fine. What about Jane Romero? Well, Jane is... Okay, I'm just going to put it bluntly. She is one of the bigger survivors, let's put it like that. Which makes her unique. We usually have really skinny or broad survivors. Nah, this time we get somebody with a bit more meat on their bones. I'm not shaming, that's a compliment. Before anybody takes that out of context. As for her perks, I don't like any of them. We got Head On, Version Out of the Locker can stun healing and gives you the exhaust effect. This one is actually good for me. I kinda like this. I lied. I do like this one. Solidarity, after healing the survivor without a medkit, you get healing progression on yourself if you are injured for around 50%. And Poised, after doing a generator, you leave no scratch marks for 10 seconds. Yeah, I don't really see the use of Solidarity on Poised that much, but they're not bad. They're not per se the worst perks in the game, but they're not the best. They're just there. And of course, we got the fucking second worst map in the game in my eyes. I'm joking, it's not the second worst. It's a Red Forest map. It's Temple of Purgation. It's big, like Mother's Dwelling. I don't like the Red Forest realm. So this map is better than Mother's Dwelling. I still don't like it. At least it looks cool. The big temple looks cool. You get a little basement area there. But I gotta give this chapter one thing. It's great from a lore point. The lore, especially Plague Stone, was great. The kill is not really my kind of playstyle, but the bugs, the side of killer things are great. I love them. But Head On, it's good for me. Broke Stress. So number 16 it gets. Number 15. The Ghostface chapter.
Yo.
Hello, Shorty. What are you doing?
Nothing. Sitting here watching the game, smoking some bud.
Are you all alone?
What's up? What's up?
What the? Who's that?
Yo, pick up the phone. What's up?
What's up?
Yo, Duque, pick up the phone.
Yo.
What's up?
What you doing, son?
Nothing. Just chilling. Killing.
True.
Ghostface is a stealth killer that stalks his victims to make them enter the exposed state to instantly down them. He is similar to Myers, but with more jump scares. And I enjoy that. I enjoy stealth killers. And I enjoy Ghostface's playstyle of being very stealthy and jump scary. His perks are Almo Ears, which lets you see the aura of survivors after they do a rushed action. It has a cooldown of a few seconds. His perk is great on killers like Pyramid Head or Pinhead, and I quite enjoy it. Trillion Tremors, which is my favorite of the Ghostface's perks, because it blocks all generators when you pick up a survivor for 16 seconds, and then has a cooldown. This is great for information and blocking gen progress, which is why I enjoy it. And Furtive Chase, which I have no clue what it actually does. According to the wiki, it makes your terror radius smaller when in chase and changes the obsession, which the change of the obsession can be good, but there's easier ways to do it, so this book is kinda useless. But overall, I think this chapter is fun. Bugs are fun, the killer is fun to play and to play against. Ghostface is very fun to play against because most Ghostface players tend to meme, which is always nice. Behavior did a great job reimagining a classic. Now I do want to know this isn't a Scream chapter. This is a Ghostface chapter. It licensed the mask, reimagined the costume, and made a completely unique killer. And they did an amazing job transforming a mask into a character, and I'm glad to have this Ghostface in the lineup of Ghostfaces. Number 14. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
A Nightmare on Elm Street had a pretty disastrous launch. It compromised a Texas Chainsaw Massacre chapter in favor of, well, a pretty much mediocre Nightmare on Elm Street chapter. But I still enjoy this chapter to this day, and that's also because of its rework. And this chapter is also nostalgic for me because this is the chapter that I got when I first played DVD. And that's mostly because of Freddy. I like Freddy. He's a very fun character. His perks, not so much. Fire up, for each gen done, you get a token which makes your actions faster. This is not good. Remember Me, which slows down not gen speed, but door opening speed for every hit you get on the obsession, because you have a token system. And Blood Warning, which is the only good perk, because when you hook a survivor when the exit gates are open, the exits become blocked and nobody can escape for 60 seconds. Pet is with no it, and you're pretty much unstoppable. As for Freddy's power, Dream Demon, you have Dream Snares, which slow down survivors, and I have like placeable clown bottles, a teleport, which lets you teleport to gens, and with add-ons you can get fake pallets, which replace real pallets, and you're just able to lunge through. This all plays in a very suppressive and manipulative killer who makes it unsafe to be on the map, especially when you are asleep, which is his whole shtick. You eventually fall asleep over the course of the match. And of course, we also have Quentin. Quentin is a fun little gremlin. I got told that I look like him. That was before he got a Mongol update. His perks are Wake Up, which is pretty much the opposite of Remember Me, because it speeds up exit gate opening times. Vigil, which speeds up recovery times from status effects, so take exhaustion, recover faster from that, and hemorrhage if we get that from an add-on. And Pharmacy, which lets you get a free emergency medkit from the first chest you open and makes you open chests faster. These perks are all fine, and Gremlin little Steve over here, Quentin. There's a little Gremlin Quentin over here. He looks fine. And then we have Map. Bottom sucks. It is called Bottom for any reason. But I still quite enjoy playing on it. I just wish it didn't have 5 fucking variants. But yeah, this chapter is mostly up this high because of nostalgia. And that's the only reason. Number 13. The Saw chapter.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Saw chapter is one of those chapters where you just go, yeah, that exists. Mostly because you almost never see a pig and never see a detective tap. I don't mind that because I like this chapter a lot. Especially because of the pig. I like the pig's playstyle. Pig is a stealth-based killer which has built-in, well, gen slowdown because of her reverse bat traps. When you place one of these things on a survivor's head, they become pretty much activated when a generator pops. When the trap is active, the timer starts, and if you don't get it off from a jigsaw box, you're dead. Which is a very fun playstyle because it slows down survivors on its own, so you don't really need gen slowdown perks. Because you want gens to pop. So those traps activate. As for perks, make your choice. If a survivor unhooks and you are pretty far away, the unhooker become exposed. Hammer tricks, which lets you see the aura of survivors who are near hooks when carrying a survivor. I don't really know what the use of this is, but it was worse, so it's glad that this is buffed. And surveillance. Any gen that is progressing has a white aura, and if they are touched, they become yellow. This is decent. None of these perks are too great, but they're not bad. Surveillance and, well, make your choice have some uses. And the pig's power overall is very fun to use. And Detective Tap, well, Detective Tap was in, I believe, one Saw movie, and then he died in a video game based off Saw, or went mad. Saw lore is confusing, and I don't really care about it, so, well, these bugs do represent his character well. Tenacity, which lets you crawl and recover at the same time, pretty useful. Detective's Hunch, which reveals the auras of things close to you after doing a gen, like totems, generators, hooks. Pretty fun. And Stakeout, which means that if you stay in the killer's terror radius, you gain a token. When you hit a normal skill check on a gen, it becomes a great skill check. You do gotta be not chased for Stakeout to activate though. All these perks are fine, nothing is meta, but it's pretty fun. And then we have Gideon's Meat Plant, the pallet factory as some people like to call it, because it's a 2-floor map with too many pallets, and it's also too damn large. Yeah, I quite like this chapter, especially because of the pig, and the perks are fun for me too. I don't really care about the survivor though. Number 12. Curtain Call. Hey look, a chapter with a clown. Where's my paycheck behavior? Why did you add me into the game? Well, at least I don't toss bottles at random people, which is the clown's power. He tosses pink and yellow bottles of cotton candy smoke, let's call it that, which either slow down survivors or speed you up, depending on the color. Pink is slowdown, yellow is speed. Now let's face it, you're only going to use the pink ones, because who uses yellow? And overall, this power is fine, it's nothing too big. Then there is his perks, Pop Goes to Weasel, which after hooking the survivor activates for a period of time, and the first gene you kick will gain a bunch of regression. basically a gin that's at 50% will become 25%. Baboozle, which if you fall the window, the entity blocks it for all survivors. This is pretty useful. And Coulrophobia, healing the killer terror rages causes healing speed to slow down significantly. These perks are all great, except Coulrophobia, which is useless, but the rest is great, and Pop Goes the Weasel I believe is even meta. And then there is Kate Denson, and Kate Denson is not my favorite survivor. Scream, it's ear bleeding, which is weird, you expect more from a singer, but meh. The perks are also not good. You've got Boil Over, which when you're getting carried, the killer has more trouble carrying around because the struggle is greater, meaning you'll move the killer around more. Windows of Opportunity, which let you see vault locations. This is good if you're new. And Dance With Me, which after a fast vault, you leave no scratch mark for 3 seconds. This is not that good. All of these pretty much suck, but they can be good for new players, but not for me. Map. Well, we got the circus. It's not called that, but I call it that because it has a circus. It's a pretty good map. It's on the Crotus Prime realm. It's a good realm. The map's good. It's not bad. It's pretty balanced overall. Overall, this chapter has its shortcomings, specifically in the survival department, but it makes up for it by having the clown who's a fun kill to play as. And I'm just scared of clowns, and it's fun to have a clown killer. Kinda ironic I'm scared of clowns, you know, I am a clown. Number 11. Lullaby for the Dark.
I don't know what this is, but it's kinda hot.
Lullaby for the Dark introduced our first ever ranged killer, the Huntress. A slow, very carefully aimed killer that throws hunches, which if connected with a survivor, instantly take away one health state. This is a very fun power to use, albeit a bit tricky if you can't aim worth a damn, like me. And the perks, well, they're trash. Huntress, Lullaby. High. For each survivor you hook, you get a token, which makes skill checks harder to do. This is the only good perk. Works well with doctor builds and impossible skill check builds. Territorial, where you can see the aura of people in the basement. It's good for basement builds, but not anything else. And Beast of Prey, which in Bloodlust Tier 1 you become undetectable. These perks suck most of the time. Like, there's specific use perks. And that's kind of a shame because the Huntress is pretty fun to play, albeit a bit hard. As for David, well, David came with the good side of perks of this chapter. He came with Dead Hard, which is a exhaustion perks in which you press E to dodge forward and pretty much dodge an attack. No Wither, which lets you instantly get up, which lets you pick yourself up, put you in one down, but you leave no pools of blood, it will grunts up pain or forward. And We're Going to Live Forever, which is basically a very barbecue-esque perk, and it's probably one of my more used perks. These perks are great. I like them. All of them. All of them are great in build combinations, no matter with Death Hard, Resilience, and this is not happening, can make for a great build. We Can Live Forever is always useful because blood points. And then we have the map. Mother's Dwelling. It's big, it can die in a hole. I don't really like this map at all. And so it just gets number 11 because of the map. Like the rest I like, because I like David perks, and my friend mains David, so I also like David. And Huntress is best mom. Number 10. The Halloween chapter.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
The Halloween chapter was our first licensed Dead by Daylight chapter, and it's beginning to show its age. But despite that fact that it's old, I still love this chapter. Myers is a great stocky boy with great snowball potential. His power Evil Within has 3 tiers in tier 1. They're basically undetectable. You have no tear radius, no red stain, but you move slow and you have a smaller lunge. In tier 2, you're a base killer with a bit of a smaller tear radius. You can use dual stealth killer. Instead, in tier 3, you get a long launch, instead and a big tear radius comparable to Doctor. in a faster vault, and this is great. And then when you add in add-ons into the mix, you can get completely different playstyles, from Infinite Tier 3 Remori Myers to Scratched Mirror Myers, where you basically go around being a stealth killer permanently. It's all great, and you came with the Obsession perk system. Save the best for last. Each time you hit a non-obsession survivor, you gain a token which speeds up successful hit recovery, but you lose tokens for hitting the obsession. Play with your food. If you ignore the obsession, you gain a token which speeds you up. And Dying Light, which slows all progression down for everybody who is not the obsession. For every survivor who is not the obsession is hooked. These books are all great. I love all of them. And then we get to Laurie Strode, arguably the less enjoyable part of this DLC in my eyes. And then we come to Laurie, we come with 3 perks I hate as a killer. Decisive Strike, which is an anti-tunneling perk. I can understand why it exists, I just hate it, because even when not tunneling I seem to get hit by it. For you see, 60 seconds after you're unhooked, this perk activates, and if you do anything, it deactivates, and they get a skill check which basically stuns you and frees them from the killing grasp. Like, it's a good perk, but I just hate it. And then we have Object of Obsession, which thankfully got nerfed, so that your aura is revealed to the killer every few seconds, but usually the killers are in return. This effect happens every so often, depending on the range. And Soul Survivor has always been trash, because it just lowers the range at which killers can see your aura from every dead teammate. It's not a good perk, Soul Survivor, but I guess it makes sense with Laurie's character as being the final girl. And overall, this chapter was good and is still good. It is still one of the best licensed adaptations that By Daylight has to offer. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely worthy of its number 10 spot. Also, fuck Hannahfield. I don't even want to mention that map. On to the next one. Number 9. Cursed Legacy. The Cursed Legacy chapter came with Oni Yamaoka, a version of Billy that uses blood orbs, but just being a version of Billy doesn't do him justice, because he is one tank of a human being. He can move very fast when in his demon mode, which is his power, Yamaoka's Wrath. When you injure a survivor, you gain a bit of progress towards being able to use this power, because you need blood orbs to activate. So when activated, get access to Demon Dash, in which you go really fast, and Demon Downs. Demon Strike, not Demon Downs, which can insta-down survivors. And this is just a lot of fun to use. It's very easy to use if you know what you're doing, and it's just fun. Oni's perks, however, are not that fun. I mean, Zanshin Tactics is pretty useless as it shows you the vaults and pallet locations. Nemesis is actually pretty good, because anybody who stuns you becomes an obsession and makes them oblivious. And Blood Echo, when you hook a survivor, every injured survivor gets the hemorrhage effect until they are healed, and they are exhausted for 45 seconds, but this perk has a cooldown of 60 seconds. This is all just basic stuff for perks, but it's pretty fun. As for the survivor, Yui, well, Yui, she's a strong, independent woman who cares about her friends and loved ones. Nothing out of the ordinary in terms of survivors. Her perks are Lucky Break, when you're injured leave no scratch marks or bloodstains for 60 seconds, which functions on a timer of 60 seconds, because if you heal, that timer stops. So let's say I have 20 seconds left, I still have 20 seconds left when I get injured the next time. From those 60. Then we have Any Means Necessary, shows the area of pallets that are down, and you can pick them up every 60 seconds. And Breakout, which when you're in 6 meters of a survivor being carried, you gain a speed boost and survivors get more wiggle progress, so this is good for like getting survivors off. And then we have the map Yamaoka State something Sanctum of Wrath, I believe. And this map is, honestly, it's fine. It's a Yamaoka map. I don't like Yamaoka maps. I just really like the killer and Yui's perks, and that's all I have to say about this chapter. On to number 8. Number 8. Of Flesh and Mud. Well, Flesh and Mud came with the most jump scare like killer we've ever gotten, the Hag, and her Phantasm traps. These are traps you place around and then can teleport to when a survivor triggers them by running next to them. Overall, this power is pretty fun to use, albeit it's a bit simplistic in my description.
but the jump scare potential is there, so that's fun. Then we have our perks, which are Hex, Devour, Hope. For every survivor unhooked outside of a certain radius, you get a token. At 3 tokens, you can insta-down survivors, and at 5 tokens, you can mourn. That's the important part. Hex, Ruin. When a survivor lets go of a generator, the generator starts regressing. This is overall pretty good perk, and then we have Hex Third Seal, which makes you unable to see auras, so blinded when you are hit as long as the hex is up. These are all hex perks because this chapter came with the new hex perks. Overall, these hex perks are fine. They still hold up today, especially Devour, Hope, and Ruin. I don't think Third Seal has ever been good. But this chapter also came with my favorite survivor, which is Ace. And Ace, yeah, he came with arguably the worst perks in Dead by Daylight for most cases. We got Up the Ante, which is increases luck. For every survivor alive, you get like 3% per survivor alive, which only increases your chance to unhook yourself, so it's only good with slippery meat. It's kind of bad, but I enjoy using it from time to time. Open-handed, this is actually good in combination with Kindred. As you can see, they kill her for 32 meters away from the hook, which is decent, and Ace in the hole, which lets you keep add-ons. This actually is now pretty good if you want to keep add-ons on an item you bring in with you in the fog. And you of course get add-ons out of items you get in chests. So, like say I get a medkit and I get like 1 brown add-on. These perks are fine, they're pretty lucky, and all that jazz. They're fine perks for Ace. I just enjoy Ace because I main him, so I have bias. And that's also why this chapter is so high up, because I just enjoy Ace that much. As for the maps, well, it's 2 swamp maps. I don't know which one came with this update and which one came later, but I hate both of them because I can see shit on those, and Claudettes blend in there too well. But that's not the worst map in the game. I mean, it's not Yamoka State Family Residence. These maps are fine. On to number 7. Number 7, Chains of Hate. Chains of Hate came with a cowboy killer, so you already know I'm gonna make cowboy jokes, but I'm not gonna talk in a cowboy accent because I can't. Deathslinger has a gun. You aim this down, you shoot him, and you reel him in, and just hit him. That's it. That's his power. Easy. Nothing complex. His perks, a bit more complex though. Dead Man Switch. After hooking the obsession, this perk activates for 45 seconds. When a survivor lets go of a gen while this perk is active, the gen they are working on gets blocked for the remainder of this perk active time. And the generator is shown as white. Gearhead. After hitting the survivor twice with a basic attack, this perk activates for 30 seconds. Each time a survivor gets a good skill check, you see the gen they are working on with a yellow aura. And then Hex Retribution. This hex shows you the aura of survivors if this hex or another hex is cleansed. These perks, with the exception of Hex Retribution, not that good. But the killer's power, it's very good. He can work very well if you slap on monitor and views to his 24-meter terror radius. As for Zarina, well, Zarina isn't really that good. Her perks, Red Herring, are good if you want to make a distraction buildable. Whoop falls for distractions in Dead by Daylight nowadays. For the people, well, if you're healthy, you can heal another survivor at the cost of 1 health save and become broken. This is actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. You also become an obsession when you do it, so that's something to consider. And off the record, if you're unhooked or unhook somebody, this perk activates for 80 seconds and hides your aura and reduces grins of pain when injured. These perks, not that great, but Zarina is pretty interesting survivor. As for the map, Grave of Glenville and Dead Dog Saloon, it's a fun cowboy themed map and I enjoy playing on it a lot. Sad thing, it was disabled because of some bug. Thanks hellraiser chapter. Anyway, on to number 6 because I want to bloody be done with this. Number 6, Stranger Things. Stranger Things was our first chapter that gave us 1 killer and 2 survivors. Namely the Demogorgon. The Demogorgon is a map reversal killer with a good chase M2 that is best placed as aggressive as you can because Shred can destroy pallets and injure survivors. Of course, you also have his little portal thingies which allow you to traverse the map, and overall this is very good. This is a very fun power to use and is pretty strong too, because most fun powers aren't strong, but this is an exception. Then as for his perks, we have Surge. When you down a survivor, all generators within a 32-meter radius start regressing, and this perk is a cooldown of 40 seconds. Cruel Limits. When a generator is completed, all windows within a 32-meter radius become blocked for 30 seconds, and Mindbreaker while Survivor works on a generator, they have the exhausted status effect. Over on the Survivor front we have Steve and Nancy. These are just pretty good. Again, Survivors are just skins, and the perks are pretty fun. We have Nancy's perks, which are better together. The gen you were working on is shown as yellow to other survivors. Inner strength after doing a totem. You can throw a locker and heal yourself. This is pretty good. And fixated, which allows you to move faster and see your scratch marks. Overall, these are good perks. Steve's perks, on the other hand, they're not good. We got Babysitter, which after unhooking Survivor, usually killer's aura for 4 seconds, and the unhooked Survivor leaves no blood pools and scratch marks for 8 seconds. Not that great. Camaraderie, well, the Survivor is within 6 meters of you while you're on the hook. The struggle timer is paused for 34 seconds. Also not that good. And second wind, this is pretty useful depending on how good you can chase. After healing the Survivor, this perk activates, and after you become unhooked, you become broken for a few seconds, and then you become fully healed instantly. Of course, we also have the map, which is the Hawkins National Laboratory. This is an indoor map. It's a pretty good map. It looks good. I like this chapter a lot. Shame it's going to be removed in November. On to number 5. Number 5, Spark of Madness. Chapter 4, Spark of Madness, gave us the Doctor, a madness-inducing killer who can interrupt survivor interactions by giving them a good old shock. Just a good old shock of electricity. Its power, they call it the spark, namely induces electricity. There's 3 tests to this perk on the survivors because how madness works. In Madness Tier 1, you see basically nothing's changed. In 2, you get a few extra hard skill checks, and yeah, you see auras, you see illusionary doctors, and in Tier 3 Madness you can't do anything. And there's a lot of negative effects, depending on add-ons and whatever. This is a pretty good power. You're good at denying survivor actions, and that's what's good about it. As for the perks, Minor Abuse lowers your terror radius by 16 meters while not on a chase. This is good, especially in Deathslinger, because it lowers his terror radius a lot. Overcharge, if you kick a gen, hard skill checks get added when a survivor touches it, and that's pretty good as a trap, but it's not that good in comparison to other stalling perks. And overall, my presence, items used in your terror radius get consumed faster. This is good if you're like playing Doctor in general, because he likes bigger terror radiuses. And then we have Fang Min. She came with 3 perks too. Life, after doing a fast fall, you break into a sprint for a couple of seconds. Technician, if you fail skill check, no loud sound is made. This is decent. Alert, if the killer breaks anything, you see the roar. This is actually a really good information perk, and I highly recommend you pick it up. As for the map, Larry's Memorial Institute. It's an indoor map. It was the first indoor map we ever got. It's a decent map. I don't hate it. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy this chapter because 1, the Doctor is fun to play, and 2, Feng Min. Well, we all know her status is best girl from DBD, and I feel dirty for saying that. So let's just move on to number 4. Number 4, The Last Breath. The Last Breath came with our first female killer ever, the Nurse. The Nurse is a teleporting killer that is very hard to master, but god is she strong when you do master her. She's probably the best killer if you master her. I have not mastered her, I'm decent at her, but if you give me Plate Flannel, then I'm good with her. Plate Flannel is a great starter's move add-on if you learn playing Nurse. As for her perks, we have Nurse's Calling, which shows the aura of survivor's healing within a certain range of you. This is pretty good, especially on stealth killers, like Ghostface or something. Thanatophobia. Every action is slowed for each survivor injured. This is great on killers that can benefit from people being injured all the time, like Plague and Legion. And we have Strider, which makes breathing sounds louder, which is just a god to your own spirit, to the point it's basically fucking cheating, but legal. Overall, the perks are decent with the exception of Strider, and the killer is very fun. As for the survivor, yeah, it's Nia. I don't play Nia at all. Her perks, balance landing, if you fall from a big height, you break into a sprint. This is decent, I suppose. I don't use it.
Streetwise, items are consumed less quick when in a certain range. I don't think I've ever seen this perk be used by anybody besides me, ever. And Urban Evasion makes you move faster while you're crouched. This is noob bait. This is not a perk you should be putting on. Overall, these perks are not good, and Nia has a reputation of being a toxic little cunt. But I do like this chapter, and the map is fun too. Quarterspin Asylum is a fun little map. You have like this main building that's very fun, and this outer building thingy that's fun. It's a little greenhouse shit thing. Overall, this chapter, really good, especially because it's the first ever chapter, and it gave us a female killer. Definitely a good chapter. On to number 3. Number 3, Descend Beyond. Descend Beyond gave us the Blight, one of the most complex killers ever released in Dead by Daylight, just because of how his power works. His power being corrupted blighted or something like that. Yeah, I don't know what they call it. Yeah. And that's because it basically functions like a pinball, corrupted pinball we're gonna call it. This corrupted pinball mechanic makes you slam into objects, bounce off them, and hit survivors. This is very complex for new killers. Even more experienced killers can have trouble with this. His perks, however, yeah, you don't really have trouble with those. You have Dragon's Grip after kicking a generator. This perk activates for 30 seconds. If a survivor interacts with it, they become exposed for a few seconds. Hex Blood Favor after hitting the survivor. The survivor can both click on his hex, and all pallets within a 32 meter radius of him are blocked for 15 seconds. And Hex and Dine will always be the first hex that gets cleansed. So let's say you have Hex Ruin and Hex and Dine will be cleansed first. And then we have Felix Richter. Felix came with the perks Visionaries, which you see all generators within a 32 meter radius. This perk disables for 16 seconds after each generator is completed. Desperate Measures, which increases healing and other actions by 40% for each injured survivor. And Build to Last, which lets you enter a locker to refuel your item. These perks are pretty good. I like Build to Last because it can work well with other, it just works well with items. Sadly, this chapter did not come with a map. I don't know why I said dying and doing that to make much video. But yeah, I do like the Blight a lot. He's very fun to play as. I like his pinball gameplay a lot. I used to main him. I don't anymore. So yeah, number 3. Number 2, Resident Evil. This chapter came with the Nemesis, which is basically a discount pyramid head who can't hit through walls and has funny zombies, and I love him. You feel strong while playing. The animations are strong. You just punch through a wall, you punch through a pallet. You feel strong. And its power doesn't do a good job of replicating that, but frankly, we would never have gotten a good power for a Tyrant. But I do like his power. It functions on a tier system of 3 tiers. Tier 1, no bonuses. Tier 2, you can break pallets with your little tentacle thing, doors, and tier 3, you get longer range. And then we have Nemesis perks. Lethal Pursuer, you see the aura of all survivors for 6 seconds at the start of a match. Great if you have trouble finding survivors at the beginning of a match. Eruption, any gen you kick becomes affected by this perk. Once you down somebody, all gens affected start regressing, and any survivor will be unable to do gens for a short while and will scream. And Hysteria. When a healthy survivor becomes injured, all injured survivors become oblivious for 30 seconds. These perks are very fun. I enjoy using them. As for the survivors and their perk, well, I don't know. I don't really care about Leon and Jill. I don't play him, but I do like the perks. Counter Force, you clean totems 20% faster, and for each totem you get a token which further increases that speed, and after you cleanse the totem you see the aura of another totem for 4 seconds. Resurgence, once you unhook somebody, once you are unhooked, you will have 50% healing progress just out of the get-go, no activation or anything. Then we have Blast Mine. After working on a generator, for 66% of that generator, you can place a mine on a generator which stays active for 45 seconds. If a killer kicks that gen that's affected, they will be blinded and stunned for a short duration. If it's not kicked, you can place the Blast Mine on another gen. And then we have Leon's perks, which are Bite the Bullet, failing a skill check while healing does not alert the killer, and grants a pain or lower. Flashbang, after working on the gem for 50%, enter a locket to craft a droppable flashbang which can blind killers. Very fun bug. Rookie Spirit, after succeeding on 3 skill checks, you will see the aura of any regressing generator for the rest of the match. These bugs are frankly just good for new players, and I like Blast Mine and Flashbang, they are fun bugs in my eyes. And then we have the RPD map, which I know many people hate, but if you just remember one thing, the layout is always the same, no matter what. You will not get lost anymore. And then it's a pretty doable map. It's not a good map, but it looks nice, and I enjoy playing on it. And I overall just enjoy this chapter a lot, especially because I like Resident Evil. But I don't enjoy it as much as the one chapter that still remains to me to cover, and that is number 1. Number 1, Silent Hill.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you.
Ah, Silent Hill, my favorite chapter in Dead by Daylight. This chapter gave us the Executioner, my favorite killer and my main killer, and his power rights of judgment. When you hold down M2, you leave behind a trail of torment. When survivors step into this goo, they become tormented. From this, if they are down, you're able to send them to horny jails. And if they're on the death hook, you can mori them with a quick little cut. And of course you have Punishment of the Damned, which is a ranged attack that can go through objects, making any loop unsafe. And this is why I love this killer already. It's just because he's fun to play as. And the perks represent this too. Like, they're fun perks to use. We have Trail of Torment, which makes you gain the undetectable status until the Genesis touch and has a cooldown of 60 seconds. This is very fun for stealth Mimi builds. I like that. And we have Deathbound. If a survivor is healed for 1 health state 32 meters away from you, that person that healed them will scream and become oblivious, unless they are still next to the person they healed. Again, a very stealth focused bugs. And then we have Force Balance, which makes survivors that take protection hits become broken for 60 seconds. This is kind of bad, but because protection hits are kind of buggy. But overall, these bugs are very good, very stealth focused, which is something that I think represents Pyramid Head very well. In Silent Hill too, he's a very silent thing. You don't really see him all that often, and when he does appear, it's basically out of nowhere. And I like how his bugs represent that. But his power also represents that he's unrelenting and will not stop. And then there is the other half of this DLC, Cheryl Mason. Cheryl Mason is also known as Heather Mason, it depends who you ask. And she's the protagonist from Silent Hill 3. I like Silent Hill 3, I don't think it's the best one. I think Silent Hill 2 is better. Silent Hill 4 is also better than Silent Hill 3. Which is gonna get my head basically stuck on a silver platter. So that's fine. But our perks were also fine. The Prestalize, after working on a generator for 45 seconds, you can call upon the entity to block a generator for 30 seconds. This is good to prevent Pop Goes the Weasel or whatever. Then we have Soul Guard. After being picked up from the dying state, you gain the endurance effect for 8 seconds. If there's a hex active, this perk lets you pick yourself up from the ground. This is also a very good perk. Very fun to run. Doesn't always work, sadly. And Blood Pact. If you or the Obsession are injured, you see each other's aura. Healing and being healed by the Obsession gives you a speed boost as long as you remain within 16 meters of each other. This perk also does nothing if you're the Obsession, so keep that in mind. These perks are very fun, very good if you know how to use them, which I do because I mostly use these 3. And then there's of course Midwich Elementary as the map, which is a big open map, and I love it. And what I also love about this chapter is just the fact that it made me install the PTB for the first time. I love Silent Hill, it's a very fun franchise for me, I love it. I don't think there's a franchise that made me feel more at unease than Silent Hill. And that's certainly very special. And it's also the only reason I finished doing this video, because frankly I am burned out from making this. I just want to quit. But I'm done. This is the #1 spot. Do you disagree with my picks? Do you think I should have gotten more detail? You probably do. But please, just leave a like, subscribe, do all that jazz, because this is a video that took me months to make and is 2 hours long. So please, do all that jazz. I make no ownership of anything. Music used I'll put in the description. Have a good day, folks. Thank you for watching.